Yes to everything.
Yes to everything. Where's my focus? Come on, focus. All right, here we go. As you know, Mocha, whatever cockamamie question I ask, you have to answer yes, and you have 1 minute to convince us.
Okay.
All right. Don't be nervous. Just be yourself. You got this. Mocha, they say the love of money is the root of all evil. Tell us why this is correct.
This is correct because you always find yourself, citizens always find themselves within some type of inflation, political um, war that's happening. So whether it be with the banks, whether it be with housing, so as rent or your car insurance, everything costs and it always costs more. It never costs you less. So this is why I agree that the love of money is evil because it takes away from the productivity of your everyday livelihood. Because when you realize you're, affording um, your everyday means and not per se what can make you grow or develop or even experience the world as it is today kind of suppresses what money and its value can offer.
All right, well done. Yeah, let's chat a little bit about it. But yeah, it's interesting perspective. It's like other people's love for money is makes our life suck because in other people like the billionaires and the oil barons and every time they can't in a recession, the billionaires can't afford to lose a single cent, so they squeeze us when we're already down, and their love of money and their need to stay rich and to get richer makes us feel the pressure and the squeeze.
Agreed, yes.
Okay, some people they understand this to be money is the root of all evil, and it's not money, it's the love of money, because when you love money, you end up doing anything to get money, or you're constantly pursuing money, and that is what's negative. Because if you love money and you're constantly after money, then you're probably neglecting other important things in your life, like your children or your relationships and things like that.
That's true.
Not to mention, you probably could speak on this better than me, but I think almost every crime out there has a money as a motive. If you think it through, unless it's like a crime of passion or something like that.
Yeah, it carries a high percentile, I would say, within the criminal rates.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You ready for number two?
Yes.
These get a little bit progressively harder each time. All right. Could you betray your best friend? Remember, you have to answer yes.
Let me know when you're ready to start the clock.
Well, I'll press play whenever you start talking, so you control the clock.
Oh my God. Yes, I can betray my best friend if it comes to how she is well, my best friend is a she, so if how she is representing herself um, in a negative way, I would not want um, any type of harm or negative spotlight to be put onto my friends. So I would betray their understanding or their trust in a certain whatever the situation may be. So if it's a developing situation, like if my friend was a stylist and she was trying to make a portfolio for herself, and I knew she was going to Louis Vuitton, and I knew that this portfolio was not going to make it. I would hide her portfolio from her or do some retake, which would be considered a betrayal per se.
Nice. Good job. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that really the correct answer, if you really love your best friend, is yes for everybody. Because what you're talking about is betraying them for their own sake, for their own best interest. It's like I always think if your best friend wanted to drive home plastered drunk from the party, and you kind of told the host to say, take her keys away, that's kind of a betrayal, but it's for their own best interest, right? Because you really love them.
Exactly.
I think that's what best friends are for. Like the average friend couldn't get away with a betrayal, but a best friend, my best friend, I don't know if I watches this or not, but I remember one time when he was down and out, I organized an intervention for him. And I got his sister and brother-in-law and the loved ones, and we were all ready. And when he made it into that room finally, he realized what was going on and he darted. And
Oh, no.
oh, he was very angry and upset. But I chased him and we ended up in some park somewhere, just me and him. And it didn't take long. It was like within 10 minutes, we were laughing it up. And he was, thanking me and recognizing I did this out of love. And I think when you have a best friend, there's almost nothing you can do that's really a betrayal. Everybody recognizes that it's all done from with love.
Yeah. For sure. A trick just to give you, what I learned about interventions is when you're having one for somebody, so the person who's receiving the intervention, when you bring them into the room, always make sure they take off their shoes.
Good one. Yeah. Good one. That's right. Prevent them from running.
Yes.
Or take like, I don't know, flatten their tires or something. In any case, by the end of that whole process, I realized that it was his sister that needed the intervention the most.
That
I'd have
happens.
to cut that out. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Here comes the tough one.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Mocha, as everyone knows by now, you were a trans woman housed in the men's prison, and you did a lot of advocacy in this area, and you actually affected some changes in this area and helped other trans people. But this is, as you know, yes to everything is a critical thinking activity. So I'm going to get you to look on the opposite side of this issue for a second, for a
Okay.
minute. Should a trans woman be placed in a men's prison? Now, the system thinks it's correct. They did it. And so I just want you for a minute to advocate from their perspective and explain why it's the right thing.
Okay. Yes, I think trans women should be placed in a men's prison, um, due to the fact that uh, men's prisons offer leniency when it comes to um, expression of clothing. So instead of being left in segregation, in a woman's prison, it would be better for the trans woman to be placed in a men's prison. That way, the trans woman can go on range, be put on a range, be able have access to the phones, and different programmings, as opposed to being placed in segregation in a woman's prison, which can cause further mental health disruptions and physical disruptions to their body if they're on hormone therapy.
Interesting. Excellent response. And so I didn't realize that. So if you were placed in a woman's prison,
I
then you would
was.
have been in
That happened.
segregation.
Yeah, that really happened to me when I first got arrested. I was at Vanier, and the guards told me, like, on my third, fourth day there, they told me straight up, like, they came. One of the guards, like, you could tell this one as a guard, but this guard had seniority in the
Uh-huh.
prison. You could tell, and the guard just told me straight, like, you're not going on a range here. So you're welcome to stay, but you're gonna stay in segregation. Or you can go to the Toronto South if you want to, like, be put on a range and have access to programs and stuff. So that's how I actually ended up at the Toronto South.
So it was actually by your choice.
It was a forced choice. Yeah,
Like you had to just play the hand that they gave you, kind of.
exactly.
Right. I just saw in the news yesterday. It's some sorority in America, university. They had their own house, and it was basically a bunch of white girls in a sorority. And the university admitted a person who self-identified as a woman, but had it's a 6'4", 275 pounds black guy that did nothing in terms of transitioning. All he did
Mm.
was wear some makeup. And now he said, I'm a woman. And they admitted him into the sorority house. And all of the girls were up in arms. They said, how can you do this? Because this, what do you think about that?
I have a problem with the spectrum myself personally in the within the LGBTQ community. I don't believe in these identities like queer and pansexual and stuff like that. I just think, you are suffering from some type of dysphoria as presented in the DSM-5. I do believe that the identities that um, should be expressed and are expressed should be the original, which is the LGBT, which is the lesbian, gay, bi, and transgender, because those expressions are natural expressions per se. You're not trying to conform. There's a lot of gays that dress up, and do drag queen shows or wear high heels to have fun and put on makeup. But to the extent that they took it into some type of spectrum identity issue to say that your expression is now a form of a queer identity, and they try to open up the trans umbrella to say that it's a trans umbrella that accepts this. Like, we did not accept this. The liberation that is provided today is caused because of a Black trans woman. It's not caused because of a gay, and for the LGBTQ community. And when we think of, the original, like how pride is formed and stuff like that, and like the original roots of it, it's a protest, it's not a party. And I feel like these individuals have deflated, per se, or tainted the root of pride and have used the form of expression, self expression, to manipulate and deceive um, certain individuals so they could feel some type of validity within themselves. Like me growing up, if a person was different per se, the differences that we had, if we seen like a guy with makeup and nails on, he was more classified as like gothic,
Oh, yeah.
like that was the type of
Yeah.
the terms that
Yeah.
existed when
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
growing up. Because the first color, the first type of nail polish that they were putting on and stuff was black. It
Yeah.
wasn't like colored
Yeah.
nail polish and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So for me, I grew up with these individuals understanding that they were gothic, or that they enjoyed the fashion, or they enjoyed expressing themselves in that means.
Yeah.
But to say it's like an everyday livelihood, no. So I do carry my own issues with the LGBTQ spectrum,
Yeah.
but I don't. And I also had, me personally, I had to, when I was in prison, I had to fight for the understanding of identity expression, because one of the institution's biggest um, pushbacks was they had pedophiles and rapists who were men, and trying to use the trans umbrella
Hmm.
to say, "Oh, now that I'm in prison, I'm a trans," or they were
Right.
able
Right.
to
Right.
gain a little bit of makeup from a trans person that was inside the prison, and say
Yeah.
that, oh,
Yeah.
now they self-express as trans and move into women's institutions and committed rape, and they had sexual
Oh, wow.
encounters
Oh,
and
wow.
stuff. Yeah, it was a big
Yeah.
fight that I had to go through while I was
Yeah.
in there. They
So
came
kind
back
of
with like,
separating like the authentic issue from the people that are taking the piss at the system, all right, and they're trying to use it in their own favor.
mm,
All right, let's move on.